Yesterday we began Daf Kuf. Let's just quickly review the Brisa, which is really the end of the sugya, the previous sugya that we did yesterday. And the Brisa is approximately 15 lines down from the top of Daf Kuf, Tanur Rabbanon. And we said the following, that when a woman who's married to a Kohen comes around to the Goren and she wants to collect truma, which she's allowed to eat, then we should give her first dibs, because otherwise she might get sensitive if we give it to a male Kohen before her. And the Gemara initially interprets that as referring to Masechet Sheni, and that's called Zilusa. So because of the Zilus of an Isha, that we don't want her to have to wait on line, we will give her first from the Meiser on it. Rava wanted to derive a conclusion from this brisa that if two litigants, each one have their own separate din Torah, come in front of him, one is a male and one is a female, we should give first dibs to the female. However, Rava changed his mind and he came to the conclusion, his maskana was that, no, I'm sorry, I switched it around. His havamina was that we should give first dibs to the man because he's chayv in mitzvahs. But his maskana was, no, we have to give first shot and take up the case of the woman because of zilusa, that it will be a zilzal for her to wait her turn. All right. So today's discussion starts with Igdilu Atarovos. Let's just see where it is here. It is, I guess if you look at the skinny lines, the thinner lines, and you go up from the end, moving upwards, it's about 10 lines up. And the first word in the line is mishum, and then you'll see two dots. Higdilu atarovos. So we don't know which of these two people is an Eved and which is a Ben Chori. You know what? Let's take a minute and just refresh our memories. And we go back to Daf Tzadik Tes. Okay, let's just see. Where is it here? Just 1 second. Haisha Shisabra Vlada Higdila Taroves. Okay. Kohenes Shenis Arev Vlada Bivlad Shivchasa. Harelu Ochlim B'Truma. Okay, fine. So again, we have a suffix, who's the Kohen here? Higdila Tarovos, that's the second line down from the top of Tzadik Tes Amud Beis. V'shichru zed zeh, nosim noshim ru'uyos l'kuhuna. So what does it mean? Shicharu zed zeh. Each one will give a get shichur to the other one. And he says the following: Imani harav, if I'm the master and I own you, you're my eved, so you're a ben chorin. So that means that if each one of them, because again, there's a suffix who's the owner, who's the rav, then you've covered your bases. And mimadavshach, each one has given a get shichur, and therefore there's an eved mishuchra. So we're not sure if his status is that of a ger or that of a kohen. Safek ger, safek kohen. So the Gemara asks the following kasha: shicharu. The Mishnah used the language of shicharu, which sounds like they took their own initiative. Nobody could force them to be mishacher. Iboy in, iboy low. If they want to, fine. If they don't want to, that's also okay. Vamai, the Gemara is bothered by this. How could it be that we don't force them to give a get shichur? We have a Mishnah with regard to a mixture, because right now, as is, without a shichur, because of the suffix, then you can't marry them off. Who are you going to marry them to? On the side that he's a ben shivcha, he can't marry a kshera. On the side that he's a kosher Yisrael, then he can marry anyone. Lisa shivcha yachol. Maybe he's not an eved, but bas chorin. But on the other hand, bas chorin and yachol. Maybe he's an eved. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's no one he could marry. Now we have a Mishnah in Masechet Gittin called Chetzia Shivcha, Chetzia Bas Chorin. And now our Gemara wants to analyze, in this case of a suffix kosher, a suffix eved, can he marry a chetzia shivcha chetzia bas chorin? And the answer is no. I mean, we always have the tzad shivchus to deal with and the tzad ben chorin to deal with, or bas chorin. So the Mishnah establishes in Gittin kofenis rabo, we will force the owner, the osa oso ben chorin. So since it's a tzad avdu shabo, which makes it impossible for him to marry a kshera, will force him, the owner of that tzad of the eved, to be meshacher, remove his side of ownership, his half of ownership. The same halacha should apply in our case of taroves. Why do we leave it up to his discretion? He should be forced to deliver a get shichur, because as is, he can't marry anyone. So Rav is so impressed by this question that he changes the gears in the Mishnah. Omar Rava Emo, we should say in the Mishnah, Kofino son umeshachrin zedze. We will force them, each one of these owners, to be Meshacher Zedze, so that this would guarantee that he can marry a Jewish girl. I just want to give you one more minute, if you don't mind. Just wanted to. Okay. Okay, so you have again the case of a Suffolk evidence Suffolk Cohen. Nosin Olav Chumre will impose upon him the Chumras of Kohanim and the Chumras of Yisrael. Lamai Hilchasa. What's an Afkamina? Amar of Papa. Oh, now we start learning Kach. Oh boy. From here until the bottom of the Omen is all Kach. Amar of Papa Limin Chasam. Now, the halacha is that a non-Kohen in Israel who brings a korban mincha, a mincha needs what's called kmitza. And you take the komets and you makter it on the mizbeach. The rest of the soles is called shirayim. And the shirayim after the kmitza is eaten by Kohen. However, there's a special halacha of minchas Kohen, that there's no kmitza. What's minchas Kohen? When a Kohen is chayav to bring a mincha. And what do you do with the mincha of a Kohen? It's kulo kolil. It's like a carbanola. You burn the whole thing on the mizbeach. And this is derived from Vayikra, Perik Vav, Pasuk Tezayin, V'chol minchas Kohen kolil tiyeh, lo seyacha. And you can't get more explicit. Kolil tiyeh. Now, what happens? We have a mixture here, and we're not sure if he's a Yisrael or a Kohen. And now he's bringing a mincha. So the Gemara says we're going to impose upon him two chumras. On the side that he's a Yisrael, he needs kmitza. But then it means that the shirayim are necholim l'kohanim. No, we're not going to allow the kohanim to eat from the shirayim, because maybe this is a minchas kohen, which is kreva kolil, completely burnt up. There's no shirayim, nothing to be eaten. So I'm trying to figure out, what do you do with the shirayim? Again, I understand you can't eat it, because if he's a kohen, it's kula kolil. Now the question is, can you be makriv on the mizbeach? He says, okay, side komets karev b'fnei atzov shirayim karev b'fnei atzov. Shiori menachas have to be eaten by the kohen. Now you're burning it on the mizbeach, it says. Again, if he's a Yisrael, we don't know, then he brings a Minchas Yisrael. And then the Shirayim are eaten by the Kohen. Since he might be a Kohen, then it's Minchas Kohen is Kulek Kolil. So what are you going to do with the Shirayim? So let's see the Gemara's Kash. Again, we're Makriv the Shirayim, Bifnei Atzma. Ikri Khan. Why don't we apply the Pasuk? So I'll read the whole Pasuk. It says, Ki kol sior v'chol dvash lo saktiru mimenu ishe lashem. And the Chacham Darshan, kol shemimenu li ishim harehu bebal taktiru. So I think what's going on here is that there are two types of achilas. There's achilas adam and achilas mizbeach. And if something is dedicated for achilas adam, you cannot be makir. Kol shemimenu li ishim harehu bebal taktiru. Just 1 second. Air is really bothering me. I'll read to you the translation. He says, Kol karban shehuktar mimenu chelek haroy lahaktir. So we gave the Mizbeach its due. Arei shiyarav be'iser bal taktiru. In other words, whatever you have to burn on the Mizbeach, you burnt on the Mizbeach. The rest of the karban is bebal yaktiru. You're not allowed to be maktired on the Mizbeach. And that's called Shirayim. So now we have an Isser being Maktir Shiari Mincha. Here in the Brisa that we just learned, it says, Hashirayim Kraven Bifnei Atzma. What do you mean Shirayim Kraven Bifnei Atzma? There's an Isser Bal Taktiru. Again, if it's if this person is a Kohen, then okay, it's Kulei Kolil. That's not a problem. But on the side that he's Yisrael, then how could you take the Shirayim and burn it on the Mizbeach? It's an Isser Lav of Bal Taktir. You have a Suffolk Isser Lav. Amar Rav Yehuda Bereder Rab Shimon B'Pasi, the Masek Lehu L'Shum Eitzin. which I think means a Tanai. What is the Tanai? If this is a Minchas Yisrael, then I can't be maktir it, but I can use it as eitzim. In other words, he can make a tie that what looks like a Maisak Torah on the Mizbeach is not at all a Maisak Torah on the Mizbeach. He's using the Shirayim as fuel, as if it were eitzim. So basically he's saying, look, if I'm a Kohen, then there's no problem. Let this be a Kiyum HaKtorah because Minchas Kohen is Kula Kola. If on the other end I'm Yisrael, let this be eitzim. I'm not interested in doing HaKtorah. Ki Rabbi Elazar. Desanya Rabbi Elazar Omer L'reach nichoach iatamale avalatamale l'shum eitzim. So it's none other than Rabbi Elazar who allows and recognizes this is kind of a t'nai that you can use it for eitzim on the side that it's not royal Torah. And we find this in a brisa with regard to a mixture of a chatos and an olah. Now, on the tzad that it's a chatos, you have a problem of kol shemimenu le'ishim. Because hachatos is nechal l'zichrei kahuna, am I right? That you'll have in your siddur. I don't have a siddur here right now. I'm not finding it. Wait a minute, maybe it's here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so it's right here. So now, what happens in this mixture? So you've got limbs of the animal that are chatos mixed up with limbs of an olah. Now, you're not allowed to be maktir the limbs of a chatos because they have to be nechal lekohenim, and therefore you would violate the iser of kol shemimenu leishim. So in other words, whatever he has to be maktir on the mizbeach for the chatos, that he was maktir. Now, what are you going to do with the rest of the Eivarim? Which have to be eaten by Zichrei Kuna on the side that it's chatos, and therefore it lends itself to it's included in the lav of lo saktiru. So he says, no saying is kol ha'varim l'mala mizbeach. He could take the entire mixture and put it on the mizbeach. V'roes habasar ki'ilu hem eitzim. He's using the basar chatos as fuel for the fire on the mizbeach. The kevan she'eno machaven laktiron. So his kavana is not to be maktirid, but rather l'shem eitzim. And that circumvents the violation of al taktiru. How does Rabbi Elazar know this? So we darshan it from a pasuk. It says, "Ve'el hamizbeach lo yalu l'reach nichoach." Now, I just want to make sure, is that the same pasuk as lo saktiru? See, I have an old edition of the Masechet, so he doesn't tell you where the psukim are, but I think if we look here in the Torah R, let's see if we get this here. It's a little bit small. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, these are two contiguous psukim. It says in one pasuk, Vayikra Beis, pasuk Yud Aleph, Kol mincha shel takrivu l'Hashem lo sasa chametz, ki kol siar v'kol dvash lo saktiru mimenu isha Hashem. So here's the lo saktiru, the lav, and in the very next pasuk it says, Korban reishis takrivu osam l'Hashem, v'el hamizbeach lo yalu l'reach nichoach. He says the following. So the words l'reach nichoach in this pasuk means l'shem reach nichoach. That's called haktorah. But aval atamal l'shem eitzim. That's not l'shem reach nichoach. That's using it as fuel. So now we have a case of a Safek Kohen, Safek Yisrael who brings a mincha, and the shirayim after the kmitza can be brought on the mizbeach as eitzim, meaning he makes a t'nai. If I'm a Kohen, then it's kula kolel. That's haktorah al mizbeach. And if I'm Yisrael, and therefore it's nechal Yisrael, shirayim on nechalim, which nechal a Kohen, I mean to say, but nechal, and therefore you're going to violate the Isur Bal Taktiru. The answer is I'm using it only as what? As fuel for my fire. It's eitzim. And where do we find a precedent for that kind of a Tanai? We find it in the case of a taroves of every chatos with every ola, and we can burn the whole thing on the mizbeach. If it's an ola, fine, everything's wonderful. If it's a chatos, then I'm only burning it as eitzim, and that's the sheet of whom? Of Rabbi Elazar, who darshans it from the pasuk, the reach nichoach. So Gemara asks, Hanichol Rabbi Elazar. In this case of a taroves, we can find a takana way out for a mincha based on Rabbi Elazar. Elo l'Rabbanon, but the Rabbanon rejected Rabbi Elazar in the case of every chatos. Shenis arvuim every ola. They don't accept that this that you can circumvent the problem of Bal Taktiru by just saying, well, let it be L'Shem Eitzim. They hold, okay, this is heavy kudshim, to Ubar Tzurasam V'Yetzu L'Beis HaSreifa. Think means they become, see if he enhances that in the footnote here. So anyway, Ma'ikal and Meimar, how can we be makriv the tarovis of menachos? I mean, tarovis meaning referring to the two people who are each a Suffolk Cohen and a Suffolk Yisrael. How are they going to bring them mincha? The Gemara says the Ovid Leker Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon. Oh, we have another option. The Sanya Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon Omer. And we're talking about a minchas chote shel Kohen, which requires kmitza, like a mincha of Yisrael. So you have to know why a chote is different. Let's see, Tes Zayin. Kohen shenis chayav b'korban olav v'yored v'yimu oni mevi mincha. So I suspect this is a Kohen who became a Mitzorah or something like that. I'm not sure. You don't have notes here, do you? No. Okay. So the Shirayim Einom Necholim. Minchas Kohen Tzrichli Yos Kulo Kolim. Oh, okay. So Minchas Chote Shel Kohen right now has the same status as a Minchas Kohen, and it's Kulo Kolil. Hakometz Korev Liatzmo Vashirayim Mispazrim Al Beis Hadeshen. So you makriv the komets, that I understand. And what do you do with the shirayim? We said the shirayim cannot be eaten. Es hashirayim menichim bebeis hadeshen lemata. Heichon shayu menichim es trumas hadeshen shetomi agav mizbeach. Es hanotza shel korban oaf. Afilu rabbana. Hasovrim sham sheminchas chote. Shel kohen ein nikmetzes el maktirnes kula. Lo pligi al leid Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon el b'minchas chote shel kohen. Kohen, the bas hakrovi, the minchas Kohen, minchas chote shel Kohen is like a minchas nidava, and therefore you have to be matir it kolil. Aval hacha, in our case of a mincha shemakrivim atarovos halol, sheshiyore hamincha hem bisafik shema ena ruuyim laktar klal. Maybe it's a minchas Yisrael. Is afilu rabbanim modu. That Yispazru al Beis Hadeshen. Like Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon. So in any event, the Gemara finds some sort of a solution to this problem. If it's not through Aktar with a Tanai like Rabbi Lazar of Eitzim, then we utilize Rabbi Lazar Reb Shimon's option of a Minchas Chote Shel Kohanim, and mispazrim v'beis hadeshen. Shirayim mispazrim v'beis hadeshen. And that brings us to the next Mishnah. All right, so we took a little excursion into Kodshim. It's amazing how Yevamos is like, it's such a combination of so many different areas of Torah. It's like wild. So this leads us here to the Mishnah on the bottom of Daf Kuf. Are you available, Steve, tomorrow? I just want to work out my schedule, but do you want
I'm around tomorrow.
You're around tomorrow. All right, so right now I'm leaving it b'chazaka that I have like I might have to take care of things and the coals officially, but if I can get a lot done, like right now, I got to run over to the supermarket, and we'll see. Maybe I can still learn tomorrow. Okay, then.
Okay. We'll play it by ear.
All right, we'll play it by ear. Thank you so much. Happy Hanukkah.
You too.